investigate when leaders are leading, is it important for them to know the person?
To be able to see from multiple perspectives or multiple vantage points, and to be able to operate, we evolve, we take the mask off. So it's like we're not being this person in business versus this person when we come home versus this person with our kids. So we're not fragmenting ourselves, and that's where we start to feel separated.
The fragmenting of self is the first, I think, steps of separation
Mm.
in our soul, within our being, and that's where the abyss happens. Why do I feel empty? Why do I
Yeah.
feel lost? Why is this not soothing me? Why is this not fulfilling? You're fragmented.
But the way that we work together is a real testament to the work that we have all done in this space, right?
Anita Tomeski, Anita, I still struggle pronouncing your name every time I have to say
I
it.
still say Tameki.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's like whatever you want. I
What
don't
is her
even know
name?
anymore.
What is her name?
What is her name?
It's
My name's
Temetsky, but
Candace.
who cares?
Yeah, people get my name wrong all the time.
Exactly.
Candace Jacqueline Gardinez, wellbeing woo-woo expert, and Frances Frey. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, loaded question. But I am a developmental coach. So I've been training, I sort of started my training with Anita almost a decade ago, I think. Time flies. And so, yeah, I specialize in areas of leadership development, and I'm just very passionate about human behavior. And in the last few years, I've had some little kitties. So I'm quite passionate and curious about the more sort of conscious forms of parenting and using this work and how to apply into that space as well.
Wow. And Frances, which is the sector? What is the area you work most in? Is it private coaching? Is it corporate? Is it women's groups? Where do you play?
Love to play amongst all of it. But I think when I was in Sydney, it was definitely more of a corporate focus. Now living in Byron Bay, the lifestyle's quite different. Becoming a mum, that space has been quite different. So at the moment, it's primarily one-on-one.
Mhm.
And then we do some of our fabulous women's circles every now and then, which is lovely.
And so you, Anita, and I'm going to use poor English, I don't care, starting a leadership program, I believe. One of you tell us what the hell are you doing?
What are we doing? Well, we've always done a bit of work in the corporate space. And I think for me, I come from a corporate background. So there's been a lot of learnings from that era of my life. And so, yeah, we sort of have started to see this real shift emerging in leadership. So the way leadership's traditionally been done, it is evolving as we are all evolving, and it's evolving rapidly. And we've coined, well, the term that we're using is pioneer leading. And so that's really about how leaders can start to evolve internally and in the areas of life and their reality that they're moving in through uncertainty, through complexity, from a deeper level of awareness and intention. And so we've really looked at these 5 pillars of how leaders can show up and live and act and move in order to harness that more deeply. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah. So when we get specific into that, it's literally things like, can we lead without blame? Can we lead by stepping into the shoes of the other? Can we lead by not taking things personally? Can we lead by responding rather than reacting? And these are kind of the things that we're doing. Can we lead by giving feedback, not by telling people about them, but by asking them why they are doing what they're doing before we feed anything back? So this is the kind of thing where we go, within this work, we are looking at how are we leading ourselves? And mostly we are leading ourselves from our blind spots. So as we do this kind of work, we are literally looking at about 5% of humanity that are able to step into this space, really see their blind spots, look
Anita,
at their
can I just
stuff.
pause you for a sec? Can you just hold that mic just here? 1 second.
Yes.
So just towards here, to your
Yeah,
side
yeah,
of
yeah.
your mouth.
Oh,
Because
to the
in
side.
front, it's right there. Now
Okay.
continue.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And so what we're looking at within this work is helping leaders to level up themselves so that they can then firstly lead themselves and then in turn others from a much less judgmental space. Yeah, because that's the main thing that comes into this. We're leading from judgment a lot of the time. We're judging ourselves, we're judging others, and we're not being curious enough to our own behaviors, let alone others.
So, I've done some leadership training as well based on connection, and I developed something called the connection method. quite a while ago, and I just want to investigate when leaders are leading. Is it important for them to know the person? Okay, because I got a lot of leaders saying to me, "Well, you know, I can't get. I'm in top tier management. I can't get too involved in the person, who they are, and you want me to sit down and inquire and understand and get to know them and understand where their perspectives have come from." They're like, "No, I'm here to get the bottom line
Yeah.
done." So how would you say your program really assists in that space?
Well, there's lots of different perspectives to come at that question. But, one of the things that we say, particularly if you're leading an organization with hundreds of people, if not more, it's all about as well how regulated you are as a leader. So even a self-regulated leader regulates rooms. So it's like, how are you showing up and what is your influence in how you are living and being and performing in all those aspects, because that's where the real influence is. So I think while you can't necessarily have that one-on connection all the time to every single person in that space, you can influence that group by that famous say, be the change you want to see in the world. And how are you being that change? Through evolving and developing your internal world, so how you think and feel and how you perceive reality. Then how are you performing? How are you showing others how to do it? How are you regulating yourself? And how are you connecting with them from the cultural, relational aspects? There's a lot to unpack there, I'm sure.
Anita, do you have a
Yeah, definitely. And to add to that, it's really about, the amount of people that say to me, this isn't, work isn't therapy. But it's like, well, I don't have time. Who has time? I don't have time to be getting to know the people. I haven't got time for it. And it's like, but you seem to have a lot of time to be bothering yourself with the not knowing of them, with not having these communications. So I always say to people, it's like, for maybe a little bit of time, of extra time in getting to know them and building rapport, you're going to be saving yourself a hell of a lot of time in getting frustrated, in bothering yourself, in asking them to do the same thing a million times in the way that you've asked them a million times. It's like, what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result. So what's the definition of sanity? Is doing something different every time until you get a different result. And this is really about, otherwise we're banging our heads against the big wall going, why aren't they listening? Why aren't they listening? I've asked them 20 times. Or maybe they're not hearing it in the way that you're asking them. So how might you want to change the way that you're asking them? Get to know how they operate so that you can feed in and start to speak their language.
And that's the thing. I think you can't just have a business interest and put aside the human interest. If you're
Exactly.
trying to just have one or the other, it's an imbalance. Again, it's not regulated. And I hear a lot of people also say, I've got into debates, wellness isn't the company's problem. Well, the well-being, the relationship's not the company's problem. That's not our problem. Come in, get your job done, get out. And I heard this not too long ago from someone. I was like, wow, we're still doing this? We're still doing this in 2026? Damn. And they were retiring actually, but their view was, it's gone too far. It's gone too far. Why are we responsible for the well-being and then going through the relationship process with someone to like understanding what are your reactions to that sort of mentality?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is that everything's connected. And this is what really the framework of what we teach is all about, is these different areas or pillars of our reality all cross over. And so as we are effectively leading or pioneering, we are moving through all these different areas and seeing how they all connect and relate together. So when we have problems that we're facing, or if we're in a time of crisis in the business, it's like, how do we look at all of these areas, ourselves, our performance, our people, the system? How do we look at that from a more evolved perspective and solve problems from there with greater clarity? Because that saying, we can't change what we can't see. We have to be able to see the whole map, the whole picture. But often we're just looking at things in silo about what is the problem here and now. How do we solve, tomorrow, rather than looking at, okay, well, how does the employee's well-being affect performance? How does it affect culture? How does it affect the adoption of AI? How is it all working together or not working?
And ultimately what I I would say, to anyone that says that, because I hear that a lot as well. It's like, don't do wellness for them, do it for yourself. Because it's like, the more well your people are, the more well your business will be, the more well you will be. So it's kind of bringing it back to self. You're not really doing it for them. If you're doing it for yourself and for the business, and then
Mm.
everyone's kind of happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And what would you say would be like in this pioneering leadership program is the foundational tool? What is your primary, hey, you want to be a pioneering leader? What is your primary tool, primary concept?
Presence.
Mm.
Like what is your capacity to let go of all the distractions and the noise and the storylines and the worst case scenarios, the 5-year plans, and to come back to presence, to be here now, and from this place of nothingness, we come back to the breath, to use the most basic, simple tools that often we don't connect with in times of stress or urgency, or just in the general busyness of the day-to-day world that we live in.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Leading from here,
Yeah.
from the presence, from the moment, rather than the past, basically. So this is really the invitation here, is how do we get leaders into this space of coming back to themselves, so that they can trust their gut in the moment, rather than trying to pull out old business plans and what they didn't do in the past and all the rest of it. It's like, what's relevant right here and now in this moment.
It's like these old leadership models are outdated. I mean, look at the way AI is evolving, the race for these companies launching these new products and then companies trying to adopt it. Everyone's trying to get there so fast. It's like, we're not taking stock to actually come back to ourselves in this moment to go, okay, well, what is right? Like, what is relevant? What is necessary? Like, where is my discernment? How am I tapping into my wisdom, rather than just getting caught and chasing, the ball from wherever it's being thrown?
And I think that's what's lost a lot of the time, wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom is not how many degrees you have, or how many companies you've run, or how many people you've got under you. I think wisdom is presence, but oftentimes, again, I run well-being, I run stuff. People are like, presence? I don't have time for presence. I mean, there's a million things to do. It's the irony of like, well, can you schedule space for really good meditations at work, and really encourage that space for your leaders? The concept, it seems to not gel for them, because it
Because
comes back to, I don't have time.
yeah, we miss that everything that we're doing is arising from presence anyway. So we're kind of doing it anyway, but we're not realizing that it's the foundation of everything. And it is that thing of, you know, as Francis talked about AI there, it's like AI is doing so much for us, and it's going to continue to do more and more. What is the only thing left really is the inner wisdom, is the silence, is the stillness, because AI is doing the doing. So we can be, whilst it does, we can be the stillness that we, is our innate, most natural state. So it's kind of like, to move from here is the only thing really that we've got and that we will have over AI. So how do we stay superhuman as it takes over, super intelligence, is the state of being. AI is not going to just be being, because that's a waste of time. AI is taking over the doing that we have constructed, so that we can maybe be a bit more.
Yeah, that's so true. And what led you guys to create a program like this?
I think it's essential for, without sounding too dramatic, but for humanity's survival, in terms of how we survive through this massive disruption and transition that's happening. So say if we looked at, hypothetical, it's not really a hypothetical, but a worst case that, all of white collar jobs are gone in the next 5 years, there's going to be a crisis of identity for many people that have attached their self-worth, their sense of purpose and meaning to these roles, to these titles, to these positions, to the performance. And I think whatever happens, whichever way it goes, it's like doing this work now is going to help future-proof your internal state of being and how you move through this change, whether it's with this company or whether you go and move on and create something else and you pivot and adapt. it's like starting to do this work if you're not already doing it now is essential. If the time comes when we're at like the point of crisis, we're not all just kind of swimming around fucked, like what do we do
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy. I had a conversation with someone today, and it was literally around that. But you better be in that inquiry process. Who are you? What do you want? And it's not that that's one thing and it's not evolving and changing. But if you don't have the space within yourself and the wisdom to ask those questions, you do not have the ability to pivot and change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trust, right?
And
That's
trust.
what a lot
Yeah.
of this comes back down to, is that piece of trust.
Mhm.
If this is happening and we are uncertain, as we always are about the future, but
Mm.
we're kind of more in a zone at the moment where we're saying it's worse than it's ever been, then coming back to that place of trust is the absolute. So within this work, that's what this is really, really about. So we're going into corporates, when they may not be, even these people may not even be in corporates in the future, but it's like we're helping to set people up for the future of the potential of non-work or a difference in work as we come back to that place of trust. So it kind of
Yeah.
seems like it's all a corporate thing, but really it's getting to know ourselves, getting to trust ourselves, being able to move more from that place of wisdom, becoming more still, so that we're already ready for the stillness potentially that is maybe
Yeah.
ahead for us.
And I think there's a lot of like my husband's in the tech space and he's very heavily working in AI, in the space of AI. And, we're having this conversation that there is a lot of, catastrophizing and a lot of, it's very clickbaitable. Is that even a word? But at the moment about where it's all going. And, one aspect of this pioneer leading is to actually just see events and situations as they are unfolding without labeling or getting caught. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this doom? Is this, abundance? Whatever this is happening. So then we have the clarity to really see from all these different vantage points, how are we solving this problem? How are we moving forward? What's the strategy? Instead of getting caught in fear or in FOMO or whatever, emotions that are arising around the.
And is there a space? I mean, in my programs that I've run in the past, for me, I am always inviting compassion and softness and openness. That's part of that connection method. But within this pioneering leadership program, do companies want that? Are you including that? What is your perspective on the compassion and the softness into the corporate space? Because there's a lot of resistance I've experienced in the past and, chatted with people about.
Well, give me an example of when you bring in compassion and softness into a leadership training.
As in talking, even using the some words like, well, leading from the heart, open-hearted. I generally include a lot of research done by the Heart Math Institute. I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
follow them,
Yes. Yeah.
which has a lot of science and a lot of stuff back. But even that sort of languaging of, can you lead from the heart, or where are you feeling that, and does that feel like using the word feel?
Yeah.
It's still, where's the strategy? Where's the tool? I'm giving you the strategy and the tools.
I personally think with that one, so for me, in my own personal experience from working in corporate, 10 years ago, to what I really saw is a big shift during COVID. So the difference in the going in, even when, Francis and I were going to corporates pre-COVID to going into corporates post-COVID, there was definitely more of a softness happening where people had an opportunity, some of them, to go more into this work, especially in my world. I saw a lot of that happening during the lockdown period, and things did start to take a bit of a shift, but I still think that there is a language set that is required as we walk into a room. So many times there's been something presented to say, we are coming into this organization in order to help with your systems, knowing that at some point in that day the people and communication system is the one that is going to get seen through, rather than the problem of the system of the whatever it is, the computer system or the system of the
Mhm.
finance not going well. So it's about pacing. It's like
Yeah.
pace,
Mirror
lead. So
match,
pace,
pace,
meet them
read.
where they're at, use the
Yeah.
language, and quite a key thing will be to sit with people and go, okay, there's a moment here where we're going to just take a really deep breath. And it's literally, that is it. And it's, within that process, then going, how did everyone how do you feel now after taking that breath, and hearing from different individuals in the room of their experience of what they felt from that breath. And some are going to talk to body, some are going to talk to mind. So it's, again, it's not going in with what I want to give you, it's going in with what do you need, like what am I hearing from these individual people as to where they're at. There's some people that don't have, people in corporates, if we're in the tech space particularly, potentially are very heady. They don't
Yeah.
have a lot of access to their heart. So it can be quite confronting to go, can you feel your heart? Because they can't.
Yeah.
It's not that it's
Yeah,
not
exactly
beating, but they
right.
haven't practiced that. So it's going,
Mhm.
okay, how can we help you to be able to do that? And often it might be, come and see me afterwards. Yeah, let's just have a few minutes where we spend some time where we're getting into that heart space a bit more.
When we look at, one of the core components of pioneer leading is to be able to see from multiple perspectives or multiple vantage points, and to be able to operate within each of these areas simultaneously, which sounds quite complicated. But, when we look at the self, when we look at relationships, when we look at performing, the doing, and then the systems, there's really only less than 5% of humanity that has the capacity. When we look at, one of the core components of pioneer leading is to be able to see from multiple perspectives or multiple vantage points, and to be able to operate within each of these areas simultaneously, which sounds quite complicated. But, when we look at the self, when we look at relationships, when we look at performing, the doing, and then the systems, there's really only less than 5% of humanity that has the capacity to operate with all of these perspectives at once. And so what we're really saying is that this is the potential of leadership and where it's headed, but it's a journey. It's about, this isn't a quick fix. This isn't a hack. This isn't like a top tip approach. It's like, how are we making the choice to keep evolving and developing as human beings within our, selves and our organizations and our people over time? Like, it can
Mm.
take years, but there are tools and there's practices and approaches that people can start, implementing straight away.
Mm. Well,
It's
I
just a
think
case of readiness, I guess, as
yeah,
well.
I agree. I agree. I think it's AI is doing all the thinking and the evolving in that space. But one thing AI it doesn't do, which it'll tell you, is feel. So imagine as a society, we start evolving and developing the energetic field that is us. I think that's powerful. And it
And I
sounds like,
agree. I totally agree with you on that. And I think that's the difference between the feeling, which causes the extreme emotions that will come out in leaders, in leadership. The difference between that and getting into the actual energetics of our system, which are two different things, and something again where we're talking very high level here and very small percentages of people really getting this. But that is, in theory, part of this process, the later stages of this work with corporates, especially with leaders, because it's all very well us, bringing this into teams. But if we're not working with the leaders directly as well, they're not going to get the results as much. So really everyone doing this work is so essential, but the leaders really need to, sometimes realize that it's not just about the people that need change. It's the change
mm,
comes from, be the change, as we said earlier, the change comes from
mhm,
within first.
Yeah,
mm,
and just to add to that, it's that shift of, the older leadership models is like the people at the top have all the answers. They are the loudest in the room. People look to them for the response. Whereas the shift is that, it's about asking better questions about who do we need to listen to that, is the best person or people for this job. I'm prioritizing awareness and my evolution of awareness over my intelligence. The old outdated models were looking at, how can we know more? And the shift to pioneering is like, how can we listen more? How can we become more aware? But also, how can we start to unlearn? Like, how can we start to unlearn old habits, old behaviors, old thinking patterns, old approaches, and start to really move from the here and now, from
yeah.
what's here and what's available now?
Yeah, yeah. I'm hearing that it's a really powerful listening model, listening training, which is exactly what we need. I mean, I've also witnessed other training companies, leadership programs, and a lot of people are still stuck in the here, let me tell you how you can tell them, okay? And make sure you use this language when you tell them,
Mm.
but they missed the listening.
And the listening starts with self first, right? Because all
Yeah.
of that you gave there is kind of judgment, isn't it? So we're listening to ourselves first for that torturous voice in our head a lot of the time that is judging self and then gets projected out as we judge others. So the listening has to start. We've got to start listening to ourselves first and understanding ourselves first in order for us to really be able to be, the best leaders that we can be for others. It's really, really key to this.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? The question earlier was, yeah, who is this for? Who is this pioneering leadership for?
Well, I think if you look at it, one of the most obvious groups would be that small to medium size business to a large size organization that is currently going through rapid transformation. So, how they are shifting their systems and processes through the adoption of AI, potentially, making redundancies or evolving the way that the business is run with this rapid change that's occurring. But as we said, it starts with self. It's even relevant. We don't just do the group projects, the group workshop stuff. It's still the one-on-one developmental work. Can be anyone who can not necessarily considers themselves a leader, but wants to lead and show up in a way that is evolving and growing. So that could be a one-man band, a contractor, that could be, people that just work with, as in a partnership with two people. It's really tailored to whatever the needs are of the business.
And I think one of the key things that I've found is really been, without having established this pioneer leading as a label, is this is the work that we've been doing, that we all do in theory, right? So what I found with one-on-one coaching over the years is I've had a lot of clients come through that have bosses, that have leaders in their workspace, and what they've been doing within the work with me is they have now stopped looking at their leaders as someone that knows more than them in the business sense, potentially. But what have they learned over this process is the emotional intelligence that they're able to bring into the workplace, that they're able to go and speak to their leaders, not from a place of this hierarchy and I can't ask my leader certain questions. It's about actually leading in the emotional space, leading where there are gaps in the leadership, where the leader isn't great at communication because they haven't done this work. So it's for the people to know that just because they're not a leader, to not be running imposter syndrome and to really be able to see the work that they've put in over the years through learning about themselves, through this coaching, they can take and be the change for the organization in itself.
Amazing. That sounds awesome. I want to do it. As we wrap up, I want to ask you, what is the most powerful, impactful thing that you have learned about yourself from doing this work?
Which one do I choose? I think, I actually called Denita yesterday. We have many conversations throughout the day, and there was lots of noise running, lots of shiny toys, what to do, not to do. And, it was that reminder to just come back to the breath and to come back into the body, to notice the sensations that arise when there may be quote unquote anxiety or charge or triggers, whatever that may be, and just come back into the body and be with those sensations and allow them to move, and to not attach any meaning or judgment to it or to the mind, and just noticing how much that shifts your reality in itself, because it creates a whole state change, and then move from there.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And to add to that is, and this is where I look at the way that we all work together. So as I work with you both individually, Frances and I have been nearly 10 years doing this. Obviously, we're a little bit more new, but I feel, whether you girls agree or not, but I feel that, the way that we work together is a real testament to the work that we have all done in this space, right? And I think this is one of the most important things. It's like for us to have been able to do this for 10 years, Frances. And one of the key factors I see in this is we have never, and I'm going to use that generalized statement, we have never blamed each other for anything during this process.
whenever we get frustrated about something, whenever something's going on, we will always own our own feelings, our own emotions. We don't go, when you did this, I'm blaming you for this, you need to do something different. It's always, we will say to each other, I felt something arise as you said this, and I felt my triggers, and I looked at my shadow. And I think this is one of the key fundamental pieces within this. It's like, in order for us to be able to lead ourselves, lead each other, and work together in this way for long periods of time, it's to not blame each other, to really be able to take ownership of what's happening for us. Because a lot of our triggers are not about these situations. They're old stuff. They're wounds from the past, from our childhood, that are potentially coming up in these situations. And to be able to just express what's going on and ask each other, how are you? What's going on for you right now? Exploring it with each other is the health of us moving. This is the stuff that would world wars would end if we weren't in blame mode. So this is a really key piece, and I really appreciate and love working with both of you, because I feel like there's never any pressure. If we're doing something and someone's a bit slower or a bit faster than the other, or someone's a bit more advanced in one area than the other, we're not, resentful to the other. We can appreciate the areas that we've got strengths in. We bring what we bring. We're not harboring anything when one's doing maybe a little bit more than the other or whatever. In my view, you may tell me differently, but I think these are the real fundamentals of this leadership, of this communication, working together.
Absolutely. It's powerful. It's I think, when I first did years ago, not NLP, but I just did a little bit of corporate training with the company I was working for. Any sort of training you do, the minute you start dipping your toes, it allows you to better relate to all the humans in your life. And that is what you want. You want to be able to relate and engage and be able to allow the flow to happen between you. Some people don't have that ability. Some people are so shut down, they'll never be able to meet you.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing you can do.
No.
But then you have the awareness to see that.
Exactly.
And
And
not
you have
blame
the
yourself.
awareness to see it and have compassion for them.
And for yourself, because there's nothing you can do for them. And that's the, doing this work on having that awareness is also powerful for me, how I relate to others. Okay, ladies, any final words?
Yeah, I think what comes up, just to add to that, which you mentioned so beautifully, is like, as we evolve, we take the mask off. So it's like we're not being this person in business versus this person when we come home versus this person with our kids. So we're not fragmenting ourselves, and that's where we start to feel separated. And I think this work is about seeing the wholeness of us in all areas of our life. So whilst it might be transforming how you lead within business, it undoubtedly has a flow-on effect to how you lead through your relationship, your marriage, your friendships, with your children, all connected in every single way.
I love that. That is, I need to write that down. I've got a list of
Got a
quotes.
recording of it, so there you go.
I've got all these little quotes from everyone that we get on. But the fragmenting of self is the first, I think, steps of separation in our soul, within our being. And that's where the abyss happens. Why do I feel empty? Why do I feel lost? Why is this not soothing me? Why is this not fulfilling? You're fragmented.
Particularly as a 3, when we're masters of that charade, right? Like,
oh yeah, I've
who
been
are we
that.
today, and who do we need to be for you and for you, and let's just perform it all. And so it's just like, take it all off.
And I cannot do that anymore. Like, I feel my whole body seize up if I have to wear a mask in any sense, whether I'm in corporate, whether I'm in this, whether I'm that. I just gotta go as Candace.
Yes.
The feeling, Candace, the energy, the soul, not the construct, not the personality.
Yeah, love it.
Nita, anything on
I was laughing at because I'm thinking I'm just about to go and put a mask on, an oxygen mask for hyperbaric. But it's a good mask, right? That's a good mask that helps I'm going to be breathing into me, right? So that's kind of the only time we want to put that gas mask on first is for the right reasons, right? Not the full mask, but just the one that gets that oxygen right into us so that we can be more present and show up in.
Nice. So you're going into a hyperbaric chamber?
Yes, I did my first day yesterday. I'm on day 2 today. So watch this space, ladies.
You are looking glowing.
You look absolutely glowing, and your hair looks lovely. I'm like,
and hopefully this is going to heal faster so that the nail grows back, because at the moment I'm literally like,
I love how all of them are perfectly manicured as well.
Just not this one.
She's like, I'm not letting this ugly finger take me down. No. Not today. I'm
Oh,
still
thank you
cute
so
in your
much for
head.
having me, though. That was so much fun.
Yes,
So
thank
much.
you, Francis. Amazing.
you.
We love having these short, powerful chats. If you're watching, we love you. Please subscribe. Please hit like. We are a teeny tiny channel and we need all your love and support because we got to navigate this life together. And we've got lots of amazing guests to come on and help us do that.
Thank you, ladies. Love you both.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.